Episode 126. The Drive Home. No worker has the right to care about the personal relationships of their employer, and Violet was no exception. So when she saw Elizabeth leaning against Logan and walking towards the parking lot, and saw Noah following behind, looking worried, she had already sorted out her emotions in advance. She had made sure her facial expression gave nothing away. When Noah got into the car, he saw Violet in the back seat, and Amy was leaning on her, asleep. Violet's eyes were closed. "If anyone asks, I've been asleep the whole time and didn't see anything, so I'm not worried about it," she told Noah with her eyes still closed. Noah smiled wearily. Just now, Logan had asked him where Violet had gone. Noah had said that Violet was in his car with Amy. The two of them would probably fall asleep while they waited. He just did not want Violet to have to see Logan and Elizabeth's distasteful display. Logan had already said that there would not be an engagement. He had said that the relationship between the two of them was not the same as what the media had reported, but they were still so lovey-dovey. What was wrong with Logan? Could it be that he still wanted to have his cake and eat it too? When they got downstairs, Logan had considered having Amy and Violet move into his car so he could drive home with them, but Elizabeth was chattering nonstop. Perhaps she would try to get into a fight with Violet again. He hadn't known how to say no to Elizabeth joining them for dinner, but it was better to let Elizabeth face reality as soon as possible. Nothing was going to change between them, no matter how many dinners Elizabeth crashed. But if she was going to invite herself over for dinner, Logan figured he'd use this opportunity to remind Violet how lucky she was. The woman really did not know how to appreciate his attention, and instead still bickered with him and remained aloof. Take today as an example. She had bickered with him and then planned to leave without saying anything. Violet needed to learn a lesson. Elizabeth originally did not want to come to the Smith group today, but Miranda had insisted. Philly had previously taught her some secret techniques to capture Logan's attention, and even gave her a bottle of a supposedly legendary perfume. Elizabeth could not wait to give it a try, so she agreed to go see Logan at the Smith Group office. The reception desk on the first floor had actually wanted to stop her from entering. It must have been Violet secretly pulling strings. But she had met quite a number of people in the Smith Group before. How could they not know who she was? She had provided proof of her identity and then harassed the employees and threatened to get them fired until they finally relented and let her in. What a joke. So what if the engagement hadn't happened at the banquet? It could still happen. She couldn't imagine Violet thought she really had a chance with a man like Logan. Violet was just a secretary. She couldn't compare to Elizabeth. That was just wishful thinking. In the end, Violet was just an employee, and Elizabeth was a star. Chloe had already said that she would think of a way to make Violet regret ever coming back to Los Angeles. If they could just sort out this unfortunate situation with Violet, Logan would focus his attention on her. After all, she was the first woman in his life. This kind of relationship was the most special, and only one person could have that with him. Thinking of this, Elizabeth almost laughed out loud. What kind of life did Violet really have? She could only watch her man fall into someone else's arms helplessly. It was really too satisfying. Elizabeth had to stifle her laughter because Logan was right beside her. She was just managing to hold it in. When they arrived at Logan's house, Violet woke up as soon as the car stopped. She looked at her daughter, who had sat up beside her and was now rubbing her eyes. The first thing she asked was where Uncle Logan had gone. Violet was so frustrated that she playfully pinched her nose. When she asked if she did not love her mommy, Amy giggled. She hugged Violet's waist and begged for mercy, saying that she loved her mommy the most. The second one she loved most was Adam, and the third most was Uncle Logan. Violet was surprised that Haley and Noah didn't rank higher. Amy quickly explained, saying that her godfather and godmother were tied with Uncle Logan. Only then did Violet give up and stop teasing her. Violet seemed to have really fallen asleep in the car on the way home. At this moment, she was relaxed, despite the fact that the car was too warm. Noah gave her a sense of security, and the music in the car had also been very soothing. She hugged Amy and patted her back repeatedly, lulling herself into a sense of calm. Logan got out of the car and walked a few steps to stop beside Noah's car. He watched Noah attentively open the door for Violet, helping Amy out and then blocking the car roof to prevent Violet from hitting her head. Logan resisted rolling his eyes and decided not to wait for them. He turned around and walked across the courtyard. What was he watching this display for? Seriously, this woman did not know how to listen. He didn't know how many times he had told her not to attract other men's attention, but she still did not know how to avoid arousing suspicion. Noah is really considerate of Violet. Who wouldn't want a boyfriend like that? Elizabeth was so envious that her eyes lit up. She deliberately clicked her tongue and sighed in front of Logan. "Do you like him? If you like him, I'll set you two up." Logan slightly curled his lips. He could solve two problems at once. Get Elizabeth off his back and Violet away from Noah. If Noah was with Elizabeth, maybe he'd stop always hanging around Violet. Logan knew that would never happen, though. As Violet's friend, Noah would not want to have any kind of relationship with Elizabeth. But he and Violet were too close. Logan had to think of a way to get Noah to make a mistake. Nobody could be this perfect all the time. Logan was secretly scheming, but Noah had no idea. He carried Amy, who was still waking up and rubbing her eyes, as he followed Logan and Elizabeth to the house. Violet was still standing by the car. "What are you doing?" Logan demanded. "Hurry up and follow me. Don't you know how to greet guests?" Violet was so confused that she just stood there for a moment, watching Logan retreating back. She looked over and saw Elizabeth staring at her with narrowed eyes. Her face was full of arrogance, and Logan's cold words rang in her ears. She wanted to kill Logan. He was flirting with another woman openly, and he was reprimanding Violet for not greeting the other woman properly. He couldn't be serious. Violet was disgusted, and she did not like Logan very much at the moment. She ignored him and went straight to the porch and into the house. Violet changed her shoes while Noah and Amy entered the room behind her. Elizabeth and Logan were still dawdling behind them. Violet resigned herself to her fate and thought that the gratitude she had for Logan these past few days had almost disappeared. Now there was only hatred and annoyance left. She was now Logan's estate manager, and his house was her workplace, so she would focus on her work. She ignored them and began to make coffee for her and Noah. Logan and Elizabeth would get warm lemon water. "This isn't right, Miss Kingston. Logan's favorite drink is—" Lee began to say. "No, it's different today. Didn't you see that he was chatting and laughing with that big celebrity, Elizabeth? The two of them should drink the same thing to show that they have a special relationship." Just do as I say. He will be happy, and then Elizabeth will also be happy. Violet smiled slightly. And I'll definitely be happy. Episode 127. Hot Water. The Elizabeth you're talking about, you mean Elizabeth Kingston? Lee asked Violet. She pondered and said, She's been here a couple of times before, but spread out over the past 4 years. Did you know that she's my cousin? Asked Violet. I didn't know until recently. Mr. Alexander had her over a couple of times, but she'd just eat and then he'd have a car take her home. She never, ever stayed overnight. Not even one time. Violet didn't want to think about why Lee felt the need to explain to her that Elizabeth never spent the night. This had nothing to do with her, and she didn't want to hear about it. Violet blushed and ignored Lee's chatter. But this was quite interesting. Logan was such a hermit. It was normal for him to not bring people back to his home. Haley had told her that Logan and Elizabeth were in a relationship. If they were dating, how come he never had her stay the night? How did they handle intimacy? Did they sneak around to hotels and get a room? Or could it be that Logan had other accommodations, and not just this house? Some sort of love nest apartment? What if it wasn't just Elizabeth? Could it be that he was also sneaking around with more than one lover? Thinking about these things, Violet's steadily improving mood instantly fell again. This drama with Logan was so annoying. Almost all the men in her life turned out to be scumbags. It seemed like Logan was no exception. Violet carried the drinks for Logan and Elizabeth over and plopped them on the coffee table in front of Logan. What's this? Logan was obviously not very satisfied with Violet's attitude and the hot water in front of him. Violet immediately straightened her back and considered the situation. If Logan were to complain, she would not spare him this time. She had to let him know that he couldn't just walk all over her. She was his secretary and his estate manager, but she still had her dignity. She would come when summoned and go when dismissed, but she would not perform for Elizabeth in front of him. Logan really deserved a beating. Violet's actions were very simple. In Elizabeth's eyes, they were like a declaration of war, because even to the pickiest eyes, Violet's appearance and figure were impeccable. Violet's skin was so smooth and unblemished. Her breasts were firm and full, and unlike most in the entertainment world, natural. Even with her simple white shirt buttoned all the way to the top, she looked provocative. Her waist was tiny, and from her waist to her buttocks, there was a perfect curve that would attract any man's attention. Her bottom was heart-shaped and full, the so-called peach butt. Who wouldn't want such a body? No wonder Logan was acting so out of character. Logan had not only moved Violet into his home, but he had actually allowed Violet to bring her children to live there as well. Violet was truly shameless. She used her body to come into Logan's home and hook up with its owner. What kind of white shirt was she wearing? She wore it just to seduce men. Elizabeth's eyes were filled with venom as she tightly locked onto Violet. She wanted to make her disappear immediately. Violet and Logan did not notice Elizabeth's hate-filled expression. They were focused on cutting their eyes at each other and competing silently. Violet didn't know that Elizabeth was secretly cursing her and was also very depressed at the same time. They were both from the Kingston family, so why was Elizabeth so different from Violet? In fact, Violet's father had inherited all of his parents' excellent genes. His own wife, Violet's mother, was a famous beauty in Los Angeles. Elizabeth's father, Charles, did not even inherit half of the good qualities of his parents. No wonder the patriarch of the Kingston family had wanted his youngest son to inherit the family business. After the death of his youngest son and his wife, he did not even consider his eldest son. Instead, he had looked to his youngest son's daughter. No wonder Charles and Miranda were going crazy. Who would accept this kind of indifference? Factoring all this in, Elizabeth couldn't help her jealousy of Violet. Luckily, Violet did not show her face often. Otherwise, who would even remember that there were two other young women in the Kingston family? After Violet left, Chloe and Elizabeth had finally received the attention they deserved. But now, after 4 years, Violet was back and ruining everything. She would not allow it. Chloe would also not allow it. If Violet was able to gain a foothold in Los Angeles again, Chloe feared Violet would try to rekindle her relationship with Lionel. Chloe couldn't guarantee that the indecisive Lionel would not take Violet back. Chloe had told Elizabeth that she had to make Logan dislike Violet. She had to make her leave the Smith group immediately and make Logan hate her completely. Philly was a woman with a lot of ideas. Tomorrow, Elizabeth would bring Chloe to visit Philly, and they would come up with a plan to defeat Violet. It was Logan who had arranged for Elizabeth to hide her identity and enter the entertainment industry. Then she had the bright idea of letting everyone know that she was the daughter of a rich family. But now that her family background had been exposed, she had not become the center of attention as expected. Instead, it had just made everyone more interested in what other secrets the Kingston family might be hiding. Of course, this newfound attention had put the spotlight on the feud between Violet and the Kingston family. Violet had gained a lot of followers online with her status as a normal person. There were even brands that wanted Violet to endorse them. Elizabeth couldn't be bothered with the entertainment business right now because she wanted to focus all her energy on pleasing Logan. Not that he'd appreciate it. It had been 4 years, and now he said that there would be no engagement. Elizabeth resented being led on like this. Of course, she didn't dare reveal the reason why she and Logan were even together. If Violet ever found out that she had switched places with her 4 years ago, then it would be over. Luckily, Logan felt that what happened back then was in the past and never discussed it. Logan snapped Elizabeth out of her thoughts when he finally broke his silence. "Are you going to let my guest drink warm water?" Logan raised his eyebrows and asked Violet in disbelief. "Don't you like it?" "I think Elizabeth will also like it, because it's what you like," Violet said confidently. Before Elizabeth could figure out what was going on, Noah was already laughing out loud. When Logan shot daggers at him, he quickly shut his mouth and held back his laughter until he coughed and started choking. Episode 128. It was an accident. Seeing Violet and Logan's exchange, Noah couldn't control his laughter and started coughing and choking. "Uncle Noah, what's wrong? Mommy, Uncle Noah's choking. He needs some water." Amy quickly beat Noah's back. Adam had just come downstairs and Logan picked him up. When he saw his sister giving Noah assistance, he slid down Logan's leg and ran to Violet's side, asking her to give Noah a glass of water. Logan was so jealous he just saw red. Why didn't anyone care about him this much? "Violet, please, get me a cup of coffee." Logan refused the warm water in front of him. Logan turned his drink down, so then Elizabeth naturally also refused her drink. Violet was busy serving coffee to Noah, so she asked them to wait. When she was done, she would make them coffee too. Lee and Zoe were busy in the kitchen. Violet had told them to focus on cooking and not to worry about the guests. She would take care of them. So they had closed the kitchen door. They could not hear what was going on, so Violet knew they wouldn't come out to serve Logan and Elizabeth either. In the courtyard earlier, Logan had sought to put Violet in her place, so she had immediately switched to the identity of his employee, the new estate manager. Violet was distracted by her standoff with Logan, so she didn't notice Adam walking over to the coffee table. He wanted to help bring Logan's cup to him. He liked Uncle Logan very much. And since his mommy was so busy, he would step in and help her. After all, Adam was a little man. He always wanted to protect his mother and sister. "How are the preparations for dinner?" Violet asked. "It's almost ready. We can have dinner served in half an hour." "All right, then I'll leave them to keep talking. The time will pass very quickly." Violet did not notice Adam's small figure in the living room since she had gone to the kitchen to see Zoe and Lee. Violet let Zoe and Lee finish their meal prep and prepared the coffee herself. Maybe she should just give in and not bicker with Logan. It was better to prepare his coffee and just take it over to him. If nothing else, it was probably best not to anger the guy signing her paychecks. "Uncle Logan, here is your cup. You can have it while you wait." Adam had walked over and picked up the cup and saucer in front of Logan. "There's no need for you to do that, Adam. Just leave it there. Your mommy will come and get it later. You should go sit and watch TV." Logan wanted Adam to feel closer to him, who knew that the little guy would wholeheartedly want to help his mother do things. He smiled at Logan, revealing his dimple. It was so cute that it hurt Logan's eyes. He didn't manage to stop him, so he just let him be. After watching Adam help his mother, Logan felt that he was being a jerk. He bossed Violet around in front of Adam and Amy. He didn't want the children to dislike him. After all, he had said that this was now their home. If Violet would just keep some distance from Noah, he wouldn't have become so annoyed. He had to remind himself in the future not to punish Violet in front of the twins. Adam happily held the cup and walked toward Logan. As he walked past Elizabeth, his knees went soft and he threw the entire contents of the cup on Elizabeth's lap. "Ah, it's so hot!" Elizabeth screamed and waved her hands. "Oh, Logan, it hurts so much." Elizabeth turned her attention to Adam. "Adam, why do you hate me so much? Did your mother ask you to do this? Or did you plan to play a trick and pour hot water on me all by yourself?" I didn't do it on purpose." Adam hurriedly explained. He was extremely upset and felt that he had caused trouble again. Why was he constantly doing something wrong? Adam's life was always full of chaos. His mommy often cried alone in the middle of the night. When he heard her, Adam would crawl into bed with her and apologize over and over for causing trouble. This way, his mother would not cry alone. She would hug him and his sister in her arms and tell them that they did nothing wrong. Saying you were sorry could solve all the problems. "You're okay. What's there to yell about? It's just warm water." Logan looked at Elizabeth somewhat impatiently. "Don't scare the child." Logan had interrupted Elizabeth's screams and accusations. He hurriedly pulled Adam to his side and asked if he had scalded his hands. "No, Logan," Elizabeth chimed in. "It's me who has been scalded. Are you speaking up for this child? Yes, this time it's warm water. Won't it be hot water next time? Elizabeth was not willing to let go of this matter and called Violet over. She asked Adam to do this. Logan, you are afraid that the child might have been burned, but aren't you afraid that I might have been burned? It's just warm water. Logan couldn't tolerate Adam being wrongly accused. He would not let Adam apologize for an accident. And why should he have to apologize to Elizabeth for being concerned about Adam? Violet, you think you have a good son. You let him do this on purpose, didn't you? Elizabeth's voice was filled with tears. Even if you hate me, you can't raise your own child like this. You're ruining him. I'm sorry. I didn't do it on purpose. Adam murmured in Logan's arms. Don't apologize. You did nothing wrong. Logan's words frightened Elizabeth silent for a moment, but then she couldn't help herself. I'm the one who got my clothes wet, Logan. You can change if your clothes are wet, but the child's leg is injured. Can't you see that? Logan coldly replied to her. He squatted down to look at Adam's knee. Adam, does it hurt? Violet's heart ached. At the same time, she hated herself very much. If she hadn't wanted to embarrass Logan, there wouldn't have been any water to spill. If she hadn't tried to pick a fight with Logan, Adam would not have gotten injured. It was all her fault. What was wrong with her? Why did she have to have these feelings for Logan? Wouldn't it be better if she just treated him like her boss? Now you want to feel sorry for your son? Why didn't you feel any pain when you were using him? Elizabeth scoffed. Mommy didn't tell me to do anything. Adam grimaced in pain. He still had to help Violet explain. All right, Adam, you are not allowed to speak anymore. Mommy will explain herself. Violet rubbed Adam's red knee. Elizabeth, I don't want to do this with you. I'm working right now. You're embarrassing yourself. Violet snapped. You know how to embarrass yourself, too. Elizabeth did not give up. I saw you. Amy shouted loudly, making them all turn to her. Amy was standing beside Noah, with her hands on her little hips, glaring at Elizabeth. Episode 129. I saw her. I saw her. Amy's voice was loud and clear, making the adults unable to ignore it. Adam felt that he had caused trouble for his mommy and made Uncle Logan worry. He blamed himself very much. At this moment, he was shocked by his sister's words. He quickly looked up at her, not knowing what she had seen. What's wrong, Amy? What do you want to say? Come, sit down and talk slowly. It's okay. I'll listen to you, Logan said. Noah felt that Amy did indeed have something to say, so he brought her to Logan's side and whispered to her not to be afraid. She spoke slowly. I saw her. That lady tripped my brother. Adam's knee even hit the coffee table. He's hurt. Logan narrowed his eyes at Elizabeth. Is this true? Logan was very angry, but he still gave Elizabeth a chance to explain. If what Amy said was true, then what was Elizabeth trying to do? And how could she be so mean to a child? Before this, Logan had thought that she was different from her relatives, but maybe she was, just like the rest of the Kingstons after all. It's not like that. Logan, I didn't trip him. He was the one who was careless. Amy, how can you lie? You can't say that. If you don't raise your children well, they'll be at a disadvantage when they grow up, Violet. I am not lying, Amy insisted. It was you who tripped him. Uncle Logan, I really saw it. Adam walks very slowly and steadily. He doesn't even know how to wrestle. Forget it, Amy. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter even if I fell. Adam was afraid that the woman would fight his mommy, so he quickly stopped Amy from continuing. Adam, does it hurt? Violet was very nervous. Since Violet and the kids have returned to Los Angeles, Adam had been struggling. But he always comforted others and did not care about himself. He was taking on too much responsibility for his age. Violet took a closer look and saw that Adam's knee was starting to swell. Her fear of the Kingston family had not disappeared yet. Elizabeth had come to the house, and she had hurt her child. Violet looked at Logan and did not hide her emotions. She carried Adam to the couch with a dark expression on her face. Then she ran to the pantry to find the first aid kit. Do you want me to call the doctor to take a look? Logan stood up. I'm okay, Uncle Logan. Just rub some ointment on it. Mommy will rub it in for me. Adam replied. Adam was very obedient. He spoke in a low voice. Amy walked over and sat down next to her brother. Uncle Logan, my brother is good, Amy exclaimed. Yes, Adam is very good. Logan agreed with Amy's praise for Adam. Adam was a great kid. He had never seen a child more sensible and steady than Adam. Yes, he was still a little boy. The word steady was a big label to place on a child, but Logan still felt it described Adam best. He kept feeling that it was not in this little boy's nature to act spoiled, nor was he willing to show his emotions. It was all for the sake of protecting his sister and mother. What a good boy. Noah was worried, so he cradled Adam's red knee to take a closer look. Really, Noah, it was just a fall. The floor is covered with carpet. How could such a little fall cause so much trouble? Elizabeth felt that they were worrying too much about this little bastard. Was there really a need to make such a fuss? Please, just shut up. Don't you have any sympathy? Logan asked. Logan, what does this have to do with me? Does this mean you believe these two little wild animals? If you believe the words of this child, then you must believe I am the one who is guilty, right? Elizabeth tried to reply as calmly as possible, even though she was used to shouting at home. She couldn't let Logan see her behaving like that. It would destroy his image of her as a well-behaved young woman. She was not going to act like Violet. They were not on the same level. Logan, he poured hot water on me on purpose. Elizabeth protested. The boy already said it was an accident. What else do you want? Logan was becoming a little impatient. Elizabeth tried to use this incident to convince him that Violet did not have the ability to take care of and discipline her children. She wanted to persuade Logan to let the two children return to the Kingston family. Logan, Adam and Amy can definitely come live with us. We can help Violet take care of them properly. When people see that we are all living together, they will think that everyone in our family is getting along. And it will put an end to all the gossip. Everyone wins, so why not? Elizabeth tried to persuade Logan. Don't mention this matter again. I'm warning you one last time. If there is another problem, you will never come to my home again, Logan warned Elizabeth. But the children and Violet live with you, Logan. What exactly is going on? People are talking. I don't care what people think. What about your grandmother? Won't she be angry if she finds out? Then don't tell her. She may already know. Nowadays, everyone knows everything. There's no secret in the world that can't be exposed. Elizabeth responded. I have a clear conscience. What others say doesn't concern me. Logan remarked. That's fine for you, but what about me? Do you hate me so much? Have you forgotten about us? Elizabeth questioned. Elizabeth, I will give you consideration for what happened 4 years ago, but I can't give you anything else. Logan saw Violet take out the ointment. Noah hurriedly gave his seat to Adam. Violet squatted by his side and slowly kneaded Adam's thin leg. She asked Adam if it hurt. He looked calmer already. Logan was arguing with Elizabeth when he wanted to be helping Adam with the others. He was getting more and more annoyed. Spit it out. What exactly are you trying to say? Logan was losing his patience. Elizabeth wouldn't stop blabbering, so he wanted her to cut to the chase. Whatever the Kingston family wanted him to do to soften the blow to Elizabeth, he'd do it. He did not want to be entangled with Elizabeth anymore. Logan looked angry, and his eyes were cold. Elizabeth was so nervous she actually stopped talking. She didn't dare to make a sound. Lee and Zoe also didn't dare to come out of the kitchen to announce dinner because they were afraid that they would get caught up in the drama. They didn't want to hear anything they shouldn't. Violet wouldn't look at him. She was ignoring him and Elizabeth. Logan had previously wanted to use Elizabeth to irritate Violet, maybe make her a little jealous, but the whole thing had backfired. Now, Adam was injured, and Violet wouldn't even look at him. Logan shook his head helplessly. Violet's temper was really something to behold. She seemed so demure and reserved, but she'd hid her inner fire. She had no problem showing him her displeasure by bickering with him, getting under his skin. She said that he was the most difficult boss to work for, but she wasn't exactly Employee of the Month. Elizabeth still believed she might have a chance in the future. If she pushed too hard and he felt backed into a corner, Logan would announce he was done with her. If he cut off all contact and assistance, then they would really be finished. Thinking of the look Garrett gave her the last time they saw each other, Elizabeth's wounded heart recovered a little bit of confidence. Then she thought about what her parents had told her about the complicated relationship between the Gardner family and the Alexander family. Elizabeth thought that perhaps she should arrange a time to meet with Garrett, perhaps over dinner. Maybe they could find some common ground. When she was alone and helpless, she had to start actively looking for allies. This is what Miranda had taught her. Elizabeth had always scoffed at this advice. Now she finally realized the true importance of that lesson. Episode 130. There's a Chance. Elizabeth looked over and saw Logan watching Violet. He did not look disgusted at all. She really could not understand him. He had treated her so coldly outside earlier. She wanted Logan to look at her like he looked at Violet. If there was still a chance, Elizabeth had to seize it. In her mother's eyes, there was only one Logan Alexander. Philly had advised her not to forget to let other men pursue her. Men always liked the feeling of a chase, and if one man was interested in a woman, others would follow. Maybe Logan was no different. Elizabeth decided it was time for her to leave. She had accomplished what she had set out to do today. Her only regret was that when the little bastard fell, she hadn't stepped on him. Adam was as good an actor as his mother. He was really good at pretending to be pitiful. She wanted to get in one more dig at Violet before she left, so Elizabeth transformed her face into a pitiful and tearful expression. She was eager to upset Violet before going home. Logan, do you know what people are saying? They're saying that you are Adam and Amy's father. They're saying that you abandoned Violet and now you want your children back. Elizabeth blurted out. Who is spreading this nonsense? Logan frowned. If his grandmother heard this, she would be worried and upset. She might even think that Violet had deliberately spread this rumor. After all, in his grandmother's mind, everyone wanted to climb into his bed. While he had his own doubts about Violet's true intentions at times, he didn't think she'd ever use her children. A woman's voice came from the door. What? How could anyone be ashamed of those two children? Logan shouldn't be angry. He should be happy that people think the twins are his. Shows he's virile and all that, right? Logan recognized Haley's voice. Haley worked for Garrett. She was steadily rising in the ranks at the Laurie group. Although Logan did not like Garrett, he admired Haley. She was a strong woman and a very loyal friend to Violet and the children. When he saw her come in, he stood up and nodded to greet her. The children are not Logan's. Why should he tolerate rumors? Elizabeth looked at Haley, unconvinced and angry. When she saw Zoe helping Haley with her bag and coat, she became even angrier. Why didn't anyone treat her this well when she'd arrived? She was a huge star, not just some nobody like Haley. Haley, you're here. Come and take a seat. Violet offered. Haley glared at Logan. Why on earth was Elizabeth even here when he was entangled with Violet? Why are you here? Miss Haley should be busy with important business matters, and yet she came here to meddle in other people's business. Is business so lacking at the Laurie group that you can sneak out early? Elizabeth scoffed. Why was Logan allowing Haley to enter? I am Logan's guest today. Let's not talk about work, Haley remarked. Elizabeth walked closer to her and said condescendingly, Miss Kingston is not the owner of this house. Is she trying to overstep and invite guests over? Haley smiled slightly. Even after wearing ballet flats, she was still much taller than Elizabeth, who was in high heels. Haley didn't answer Elizabeth, instead asked, What's wrong with Adam? Haley felt that it must have something to do with Elizabeth. This woman loved to cause trouble. Logan stealthily separated the two of them. He did not want to watch a cat fight break out in his living room. He was not interested in watching women bicker or having them upset the children. Furthermore, Haley was Violet's good friend. He did not want to listen to Violet throw a tantrum later because he'd allowed something to happen to her friend. Although Haley hardly looked like a woman who needed any help taking care of herself. It seemed to Logan that Haley would always stand behind a good friend unconditionally. Even if Haley's imposing manner made Elizabeth back off, in Violet's eyes, Elizabeth would be the aggressor. Of course, Logan did not want to help Elizabeth, so it seemed easier to just separate the women. But clearly, Elizabeth and Haley didn't agree. Each one turned to glare at him as he stepped between them, each feeling that he was protecting the other woman. Haley sneered and said, "So, it turns out that Logan does not welcome me as his guest. In that case, I'd better leave." "Stop right there," Logan said sternly. "Logan, why don't you let her go? Why not ask her to leave? It's like you are a guest in your own home. You are probably not even welcome here." Elizabeth pulled Logan's hand and wanted him to validate her anger. "She's not my guest. Elizabeth cut him off. "That's strange. If she isn't your guest, then what is she doing here? Haley, surely you don't think that Violet is the mistress of this place, and that you can just come and go as you please?" Elizabeth turned to Lee, who was hiding in the east hallway. "Does this house have no rules? Why are you letting people in so carelessly?" Lee curled her lips and thought to herself. During the few days that Violet had been living here, she had always been pleasant to the staff. Now here was Elizabeth being incredibly rude. Lee didn't answer her, but remained stoic and silent. Mr. Alexander had said that Miss Kingston's friends could enter and exit the house as they pleased, so that's what Lee was doing. Mr. Alexander had made it clear to the staff that in his home, Violet was essentially another boss. So how could Lee stop Haley from entering? Lee took orders from Violet, not Elizabeth. "Like I was trying to say before you cut me off, Haley is not my guest. She is Violet's guest, as is Noah," Logan informed Elizabeth. On the sofa, Noah waved to Haley. A still furious Violet ignored them and covered Adam's knee with antibiotic cream. Violet thought that if she opened her mouth right now, who knows what would come out. Elizabeth had actually accused her of using her children to ensnare Logan. She would never use her children as tools. "Violet?" "My cousin." Elizabeth was so shocked that she almost choked on her saliva. "Logan, if Violet lets her friends come and go at all hours, who knows what she might let in? This is unsafe." Elizabeth pressed. "This is my home and my decision." Logan was clearly getting angry. "This is none of your concern. Drop it, Elizabeth, or the one leaving will be you." Episode 131. Lady of the House. Logan was getting angry at Elizabeth's insistence. He felt she had no right to order him about anything. Had Elizabeth forgotten their previous agreement? They were a couple in name only. In fact, they were no different than friends. Why was she acting like this? "Logan." "All right, I'll ask Henry to take you back." Logan interrupted Elizabeth. "No, wait, I don't want to go." At first, Elizabeth had wanted to leave. When she saw Violet faking nice in front of Logan, she felt nauseous. But then Haley had actually dared to declare war on her. Now she was enraged and wanted to stay and stand her ground. Why did Logan always help Violet and her friends? "I'd like to stay for dinner. We have known each other for so long, and I can count on one hand the number of times we've eaten together at your home. Logan, maybe you don't like me now, but in the past..." "Fine, you can stay." It was so annoying how Elizabeth kept mentioning the past. Logan did not want his private affairs paraded in front of others. He looked at Haley beside him, then glanced at Violet. "You'll leave after dinner, and don't talk so much," he warned. "Logan, do I annoy you?" Elizabeth's eyes turned red. Haley knew that Elizabeth was famous for being conceited. Questionable stories about her had been circulating the internet for years. She was known to be a complicated woman. On the surface, she seemed gentle and harmless, but in actuality, she was skilled at acting pitiful and betraying others. Her fans weren't able to help their idol hide all her scandals. Those who offended her were not just canceled. Some had lost their jobs, or worse. The evil forces of the Kingston family, and especially Miranda, could not be underestimated. Elizabeth's career had been built with Logan's help, and the Kingstons relied heavily on the Smith group. She was not going to give up on Logan without a fight. Haley was most afraid that Logan would be fooled by Elizabeth and see her as the demure innocent she pretended to be. Haley had been thrilled when Logan rejected an engagement with Elizabeth. She'd hoped that now maybe something real would grow between Logan and Violet. But now, seeing his attitude towards Elizabeth, it seemed that the two of them were still a little attached, and that made Haley unhappy. "Elizabeth, you are quick to point out that Violet doesn't know the house rules. But isn't it Logan you are really insulting? The rules of this house were set by Logan. If an employee makes a mistake, then her boss should have instructed her better. Right, Logan?" Haley questioned. "What kind of twisted logic is this?" Elizabeth was bewildered. "And why do you even care so much that I'm here? Noah invited me, and Logan didn't refuse. Plus, Logan has already recognized me as Violet's guest. So it seems that you are arguing with yourself. Perhaps it's time you shut your mouth." Haley clapped back. "Wow, you are really arrogant. Are you always this smug? Perhaps you should be thinking about what to order from Uber Eats later, because if you keep this up, I think you'll be eating at home, alone," Haley retorted. Haley looked at Elizabeth with her sweetest smile and sat down next to Violet. She asked what happened to Adam's knee, and Violet was relieved to change the subject. Elizabeth glared at Haley, but said nothing else, for now. She could see that Haley seemed to be interested in Noah. Perhaps this was something Elizabeth could use to get back at her. What would Haley do if she thought Noah was interested in Violet? Would Haley still defend Violet then? She was very curious. Haley fussed over Adam's knee and was indeed anxious. "It's okay. You made your point. Let it go. You don't want to upset Adam and Amy." Noah rubbed Haley's shoulder to comfort her. This argument did not need to continue. If Logan really cared about Adam and Amy, he would believe them. If he did not believe them and thought Violet used Adam to target Elizabeth, then they would deal with Logan. He knew Haley didn't care who Logan was. She would always stick up for Violet. He had to quickly calm her down. "Our Adam is such a good boy." "Haley, don't be angry. Let's go eat something delicious." Violet imitated Adam's tone when she spoke. Haley laughed and helplessly rolled her eyes at Elizabeth. Haley noticed Elizabeth and Logan's expressions and wondered what Logan was thinking. Could Logan be pitting one woman against the other? Haley felt a little uneasy. After all, she didn't completely trust Logan. He seemed unreliable. He did not seem to be wholeheartedly devoted to any one woman. When they were done treating Adam, Amy finally let out a long breath. She was happier now and greeted Haley with a big hug. You can eat with Uncle Logan, Mommy, Noah, and us. Amy looked up and kissed Haley as she snuggled in her arms. Logan heaved a sigh of relief. It seemed that Amy was not angry with him. She seemed to be okay. Uncle Logan, is this lady also eating with us? Amy stared at Elizabeth. She did not like this lady very much, and given the expression on Elizabeth's face, the feeling was mutual. She glared at the little girl. Little bastard! Was this child actually trying to get her thrown out of Logan's house? Of course I am staying to eat. I am close to your Uncle Logan. We have not eaten together for a long time. Elizabeth deliberately put her hand on Logan's arm in front of Violet. She did not know what Logan was thinking, but at this time he did not push her away. Amy stuck out her tongue. Then will you come to our house again in the future? Yes. No. Elizabeth and Logan answered at the same time. Violet saw Logan denying her, and Elizabeth's face immediately turned red. She could not keep up her gentle, elegant smile, since it seemed Logan did not plan to stick up for her. Amy clearly did not understand the situation in front of her, and turned around to look at her mother in confusion. Her words were directed at Logan. Violet quickly stood up. Amy, this is not our home. This is Uncle Logan's home. She could not allow the child to have such a misunderstanding. Violet is sensible, but she should teach her child some manners. Now I'm willing to accept this was all a big misunderstanding. Violet, you didn't do it on purpose, right? Elizabeth smiled sweetly, not the slightest bit angry at Logan's cold shoulder. Let's eat. Logan did not say anything further about the argument. Elizabeth felt that the perfume Philly had given her could be having some effect on him. She smiled more coquettishly and was very pleased with herself. She followed Logan and sat at the head of the dining room table. She called on the others to take their seats, one by one. Elizabeth also asked Lee and Zoe to quickly place the food on the table. She acted as if she was already the lady of the house. Episode 132. The longest dinner ever. As Noah and Haley took their seats around the dining room table, at Elizabeth's request, they exchanged a glance. Noah felt things were strange. Why was Logan threatening to throw Elizabeth out 1 minute and then letting her play lady of the house the next? Why was Logan letting Elizabeth fawn all over him when he'd announced to everyone that there would be no engagement? He didn't understand Logan's constantly changing attitude towards Elizabeth. As Haley took her seat, she looked over at Elizabeth and Logan. What was going on? Logan was in an arrangement with Violet, yet had allowed his ex-girlfriend to come to dinner. He'd invited the children into his home, but hadn't seemed to know what to do when Amy called his house her home. Haley was upset, but didn't want to question Logan, 'cause it will start an argument. So instead, Haley lowered her head and ate. When she passed the vegetables to Violet, she pretended that she could not see Elizabeth hanging on Logan. Logan, for his part, was also trying to ignore Elizabeth. He was quite concerned about Adam and couldn't understand why Elizabeth seemed to dislike the children. Adam, does your knee still hurt? Logan asked. It's okay, Uncle Logan. It doesn't hurt much anymore. Adam said quietly and smiled at Logan. Violet felt sorry for Adam and ruffled Adam's hair. Elizabeth turned to Adam in surprise. It feels better so soon. It really healed fast, she said. What are you talking about? Violet frowned. Elizabeth was, again, trying to plant this phony story in everyone's heads that Adam's injury was some plot by Violet against her. Do you think everyone lies like you and the rest of your family? What do you mean, Violet? Elizabeth responded with a mock, innocent look. I'm just saying that children can be mischievous. I'm just teasing you. I wanted to see the look on the adults' faces. Why are you so sensitive? Elizabeth became even more animated. She felt she had exposed Violet. Why was Violet acting like this? Pretending to be this nice, demure woman in front of Logan. Elizabeth really wanted to tear off that hypocritical mask of hers. Elizabeth felt that Logan, who was being a little stubborn, should not be angry with her. She remembered that he used to indulge her very much. Elizabeth did not know when it had started, but he had become colder towards her. Elizabeth, don't push it. You know my temper. Logan was growing more annoyed. This strong feeling of wanting to protect the children was strange to him. Normally, he would just ignore Elizabeth's behavior. Even if Elizabeth had said a few harsh words, he would at most dislike what she said, but keep it to himself. He usually would not feel so angry, but now it was as if he had been personally insulted. Adam was clearly not his child, but he felt personally slandered and maligned nothingness. What was wrong with him? Logan glared at Elizabeth. The child is injured. You didn't apologize, and now you won't drop the subject. I've never seen this side of you before. Logan quietly studied Elizabeth. I am just telling the truth. Elizabeth looked at Logan. But fine, I'll take the blame. I just wanted to lighten the atmosphere. There's no need for you to spoil the child. Those who don't know any better would think that these two children really were yours, Logan. Inside, Elizabeth was fuming. What a joke. It was like Violet thought she could become the next CEO of the Smith Group or something. Just because she was making Logan love her children? That was just wishful thinking. And seriously, what is with Logan and these kids? Elizabeth wondered. She was even more clueless about Logan's behavior. Adam wasn't his child. Why was he so concerned? But when she looked up at Logan again, Elizabeth's face paled. At Elizabeth's comment about people thinking the children were his, Logan's eyes turned cold. Elizabeth gulped. She had never seen Logan look so quietly furious. She quickly turned to Noah and said, So, Noah, what kind of cases does your law firm usually handle? The topic of conversation had been changed, so Violet could only sit through what felt like the longest dinner ever. No matter what, she was still Logan's employee. Moreover, Haley and Noah were also her friends. If they all quarreled with Elizabeth again, it would be like ganging up on her. Seeing how Logan cared so much about Adam, Violet's heart felt lighter. In the end, Violet felt that she was partly to blame for this mess. Why had she thought of messing with Logan and Elizabeth? If she hadn't done that, Adam wouldn't have fallen and none of this would be happening. When everyone had been served, Zoe and Lee had quietly returned to the side hall, where the staff was eating and milling around. At the same time, they quietly observed the activity in the dining room. Lee speculated, What's wrong with Mr. Alexander? Either he never brings a woman home, or he's juggling two at once. Mr. Alexander can handle his own affairs. It's none of our business, Zoe replied. And why do you care so much? It's not like he's the first man to date multiple women. Maybe he's trying to cause a fuss and make one jealous. Maybe he just wanted to cause a scene. But that's the problem. We can't have this kind of commotion every day, Lee replied. I don't think my heart can take this much excitement. Don't worry. Mr. Alexander will handle it, Zoe said. She was naturally optimistic. Zoe figured if Mr. Alexander could manage his large company efficiently, then he could also manage his love life as well. Dinner went on until 9 o'clock, when Haley received a call. It was Garrett who asked if she was free the next day. Working together on a business trip was Haley's forte. Naturally, she agreed without hesitation. Adam and Amy asked Haley who she was talking to. "It's Uncle Garrett." Haley took some time to answer them. Garrett heard them on his end. He asked Haley where she was and if the twins were with her. Lee came over at that moment. "Adam, Amy, let's go upstairs and have a bath." Adam's knee was red and swollen. Logan looked at it and decided he'd call his doctor to come over. If it was necessary, he might have to go to the hospital. Lee took Adam to soak his knee in the bath first. Haley replied to Garrett that she had gone to Logan's for dinner. Garrett thought this was very interesting. It seemed that Violet was quite pleasing to Logan if he was allowing her to invite guests over. He did not ask any more questions and just agreed to meet Haley the next day. He asked Haley to wait for the driver at home and meet him at the airport. Garrett put down his phone and sent a text to Elizabeth. He said that their company had recently landed a new project. It was a romance, drama, and the male lead was an Oscar winner. If Elizabeth accepted this project, her career would rise to a whole new level. Elizabeth considered this. Everything in her career had been given to her by Logan. What if he got angry and tried to take it all back? Still, Elizabeth hesitated before texting Garrett back. "But my contract." Garrett texted, "Tell Logan about it. I don't believe he'll object. We work together sometimes, and he is my brother, after all." Logan had noticed her texting, so Elizabeth quickly typed back, "It's not a good time right now. Let's talk about this when I get home." Elizabeth's gut was telling her that Garrett had ulterior motives. Otherwise, why would he be suddenly dangling this important project in front of her? Episode 133. Going Home. Elizabeth put her phone back in her bag, still wondering about Garrett's texts. Elizabeth saw that Logan was now talking to Noah. He was probably waiting for the doctor to arrive and treat the little wretch. Elizabeth suddenly felt bored, so she announced that she wanted to leave. Logan and Noah were quite surprised but also relieved when Elizabeth announced she was leaving. No one seemed to want her there. Elizabeth had embarrassed herself and angered pretty much everyone. Logan had his driver take her home out of consideration for her safety. Once Elizabeth left, the atmosphere immediately relaxed. Violet and Haley went upstairs to chat and did not come down for a long time. Logan was bored and could only talk to Noah about business overseas. Then Logan got an idea. "I need a legal expert to do some background investigations on some foreign businesses. I want you to look into them for me." Logan said, "I really can't." Noah replied, "I am busy with other cases, as well as the Kingston family matters. Besides, I am not your employee. I am your partner." He did not want to delay his business with the Kingstons. "No, you're not my employee, but I'd appreciate your help on this," Logan replied, and he thought to himself, it would mean that Noah and Violet would be separated. Logan made his offer more appealing. "If you can make this happen, it would be worth 10 million. "Really?" Noah's eyes lit up. No one ever complained about having too much money, especially at this critical time. "If I agree to do this, though, I can't let this delay Violet's matter." Leave it to me. I will make the necessary arrangements and talk to the Kingstons if necessary. The cost and other matters were trivial. The most important thing was to separate Noah and Violet for a period of time so that he could have more time alone with her. Logan was like a child with a new toy, afraid that others would steal it. Okay, well, then I'll do it. Noah agreed. Noah wondered again what the deal was with Logan and the Kingstons. There was clearly a story there. After all, Logan and Elizabeth's relationship was clearly not typical. He did not know when the two of them had started dating. Did someone introduce them? Or did they catch each other's eye across a crowded room? Noah wanted to ask, but decided to wait until he came back from his business trip. It would probably be a long story he'd have to settle in for. Who knew when the two of them had met? Perhaps they had even been together a long time, and now their passion had faded, leaving only boredom. Would Logan also be like this with Violet someday? Noah wondered. That was why men were so unreliable. Although he was also a man, Noah did not have a very high opinion of his gender. That's why he needed to get Violet access to her money. She needed to be able to take care of her children and live comfortably, no matter what happened with Logan or any other man. I need you to leave the day after tomorrow. I'll send 2 of my in-house legal team to help you. You can use them as you wish. If you need anything else, just call me directly. Logan rose and shook Noah's hand. The doctor had just arrived, and Logan and Noah took him to examine Adam. Well, you don't need to go to the hospital. Fortunately, it's nothing serious. But be careful in the future. When the doctor was packing up, he thought for a moment and then said, Violet, when you have time, why don't you wrap bumpers around the furniture edges? That will make this place a bit safer. Would that be okay with you, Logan? After all, this was not her home. Violet was a little nervous. She was afraid that Logan would be irritated, so she asked gingerly. Haley saw her cowardly look and wished Violet would be more assertive. She wanted to interrupt, but Noah stopped her. It was best not to interfere between the two of them. Logan and Violet had to figure this out themselves. In fact, Logan didn't need to think about it. He didn't even hesitate. He just nodded and asked Violet to find someone to do the childproofing. The doctor and Noah looked at each other. He smiled and packed his things up, preparing to leave. Noah offered to walk the doctor out. Haley, do you need a ride home? Noah asked. Her place was not far from his, and he knew Haley had taken a taxi after work. Yes, thank you. I still need to go and get ready for my business trip tomorrow. Haley replied. Noah also still had work to do, so they said their goodbyes to Violet and the others. They kissed Adam and Amy and then escorted the doctor out. The doctor commented to Haley and Noah how kind and patient Logan seemed with the children. It was obvious he cared about them. But for a man like him, how long can this kind of caring last? Haley asked the doctor. She was a little perturbed. The better Logan treated the children, the more Violet would grow to care for him. She didn't want Violet to get hurt. Compared to not being able to have something, having it and then losing it was truly painful. Anything worth having is worth taking a chance on, the doctor replied. At least for now, Logan seems to be happy. Everybody needs somebody, even a man like Logan. Humans are, at heart, social creatures. Besides, who can guarantee what the future holds? Best he enjoys the present and the new people in his life. The doctor's thoughtful words repeated on a loop in Haley's head. Haley was still thinking about them when she got into Noah's car and he began to drive her home. Why did she feel that they made so much sense? Life was full of surprises, she thought. Who would have thought that Violet and Logan would be living together? Or that Logan would have taken so easily to her children? Noah was silent on the drive home. Haley was also in no mood to chat. She looked at the scenery through the window and fell into deep thought. She listened to the music in the car all the way home and felt sleepy. She thought about the doctor's words and suddenly wanted this little duplex of hers to have more people in it. It was better than wasting time alone. Haley suddenly didn't want to wait. She couldn't let time slip away in vain. "Do you want to come in?" Haley asked Noah. "Sorry, can't. I have a busy day tomorrow. I have a lot of money to earn. Violet's expenses will not be cheap." Noah's eyes were full of love and affection. Haley could not bear it and smiled shyly. "I can help you with that, Noah." She did not want Noah to shut her out. She had to be involved in Noah and Violet's plan. She could not miss any part of helping them. "I know you have money. Keep it. I have to give her a way out. If she leaves the Smith Group in the future, she needs to have her own resources." "All right, then Haley was a little anxious. Noah was too good to Violet, which made her feel a little jealous. But it was only a moment of emotion. Both of them were her good friends. Furthermore, she believed in Noah and would never get in the way of his happiness. But then again, Violet was with Logan. She didn't seem to think of Noah in that way. Violet saw Noah as just a friend, but Haley wanted to be more than just friends with Noah. She wanted it all. She wanted him. Episode 134, Bedtime. Haley didn't think Noah understood how she was feeling about him. He could tell that Haley seemed a bit anxious, so he tried to reassure her. "We'll talk about this later. Now is not the time. Just worry about your work and well-being. Wait for me to come back, and then I'll take you and Violet to dinner, and we'll discuss the plan." Noah didn't realize that she was feeling anxious because of her feelings for him, not because of Violet's battle with the Kingstons. He pushed up his glasses and his lips curled up into an aloof smile. Under the light of the corridor, it blinded Haley's eyes. A woman like her could not escape a man like Noah. He was mild-mannered and cool-headed. It was commonly said that he had no temper. But Haley sensed that his cool demeanor hid his inner fire. "All right, I'll wait for you to come back." Haley stood at the door for a while and watched Noah's back disappear into the elevator. She felt a sense of loss. Only then did she remember that Noah did not ask her where she was going on her business trip, nor did he tell her where he was going on his. Getting him to see that she wanted more and soon wasn't going to be easy. And Haley couldn't ignore that nagging feeling that wondered if Noah was more than just an ordinary friend to Violet. They weren't a couple, but did Noah want them to be? Their relationship was unclear to her. Perhaps all men liked Violet that way. She was gentle, flirtatious, pure, and charming. She felt jealous of her best friend. No. What was Haley thinking? They were her friends. She had to stop this jealous thinking. Haley took a shower to help calm herself down. She turned on the computer and clicked to browse the latest entertainment news to distract herself. Immediately, she was bombarded with pictures of Elizabeth. The internet was filled with pictures of Elizabeth and Garrett. What was going on between them? The photos were quite intimate, as if they were whispering in a dark bar. Haley looked at the time and saw it was close to midnight. Elizabeth must have left Logan's to meet up with Garrett at a bar. Now, paparazzi pictures were plastered everywhere. Had they staged this? Alerted the paparazzi themselves? Haley snapped her computer closed and decided not to get involved. As long as it had nothing to do with Violet, she didn't care. Nor did she have the time to stalk Elizabeth and Garrett on the internet. She would let the Gardners and the Kingstons handle their own problems. Logan and Violet weren't in the habit of browsing the internet that often. Even if the rumor mill started turning, Drake would deal with it, and if he couldn't resolve the issue, Corey would step in. Logan was rarely interested in gossip. Therefore, after bidding farewell to his guests, Logan had nothing to do. He went back to his room to take a shower and relax after a stressful evening. Violet cuddled Adam and Amy until they fell asleep. After a long time, when Violet had not emerged, he went to find her. He found her lingering in the hallway, dressed in pajamas. "Mr. Alexander." Violet slightly cocked her head, revealing a little bit of her elegant neck. There were traces of purple on it, evidence of Logan's handiwork. She had been hesitating in the hallway because while she was annoyed and did not want to look for Logan, she also did not dare ignore their agreement and go back to her room to sleep. Logan saw the marks on her neck and felt a little proud. Why hadn't the reporters captured that yet? He felt a surge of possessive satisfaction. He had never felt this excited with Elizabeth. When Logan and Violet kissed, that inexplicable sense of familiarity and sense of belonging made him tremble, and he knew that Violet felt that excitement too. Even though Violet had tried to keep her walls up when Logan looked at her and spoke in that low and raspy voice of his, when she could smell his seductive scent, she felt weak all over and couldn't say no. What was going on? Lionel had never made her feel this nervous and excited all at once. "Hey, did Adam fall asleep?" Logan's voice seemed even deeper than normal, and Violet forced herself to hold back a shiver. "He fell asleep." She looked up at him and calmed herself down. "Logan, you should go to bed as well. You have work tomorrow." "Is something wrong?" Logan noticed her expression. "No, I'm happy I got to see Noah and Haley this evening." Violet emphasized her last words by smiling broadly. By trying to convince Logan, she hoped to convince herself. "Don't lie," Logan replied. "I'm not lying. I'm very happy." Violet did not understand why he was questioning her about this. "You are unhappy, and it's because I brought another woman home." Logan's tone was a little smug. He felt that he had seen through Violet's disguise. He looked down at Violet with condescension. "I don't care. You are not my boyfriend. I don't have the right to be angry." Logan was intrigued. "I simply said that you are unhappy, but now you think you should be angry. You seem confused about your own emotions." "Whatever. I'm bored with this conversation." Violet glared at him. Was Logan actually teasing her right now? She really hated it. Men were always so full of themselves. Violet just wanted to go to sleep. She tried to sidestep Logan and return to her bedroom. "Where do you think you're going?" Logan stopped her with a firm grip on her upper arm. "I'm going to my room to sleep, and so should you." "I'm not going anywhere without you." Logan growled impatiently. "I want to sleep by myself tonight." Violet replied, "You don't make the decisions. Have you forgotten our agreement?" Keeping his grip on her arm, Logan pulled her down the hall to his room. He was tall and broad, and Violet was petite and delicate. Logan pulled her into his room, slammed the door, and pressed her up against it in a passionate kiss. His kiss was overbearing, full of possessiveness and anger. But Violet found herself kissing him back in an equal mix of passion and anger. Both felt the other had wronged them, and they said with their kiss what they couldn't express in words. Eventually, the kiss changed from anger to need. Violet wanted to say something, but Logan's mouth was pressed tightly against hers. She softened against him, and he broke the kiss to let Violet catch her breath. They stared at each other. Logan watched as Violet's chest rose and fell violently, and a fresh wave of desire hit him. Before she knew what was happening, Logan had thrown her onto his bed. Violet really wanted to have a good talk with Logan. She wanted to talk about how their relationship could be hidden from prying eyes and ears. She wanted to talk about how Logan should behave when dealing with her children. She wanted to talk about so many things. However, Logan did not want to talk, and at this moment, she didn't want to talk either. She just wanted to feel. They communicated with their bodies what they could never say to one another, and in these moments, everything seemed so simple. Why couldn't their relationship always be like this? Episode 135. Whispers. Violet's body trembled along the expensive bed frame. She floated in a sea of pleasure. Violet let everything go and gave in to her desires. Logan whispered shameful words of praise in her ear, and she could only take what they both wanted. There was not a single bit of untouched skin on her body. She had lost her last bit of willpower and could only let Logan do whatever he wanted. When the sky was bright, Violet fell asleep with Logan wrapped around her. He felt so warm and comforting. She felt protected and safe. Violet felt his lips kiss the top of her head as he pulled her closer. How could this man be the Logan she knew? Her Logan had always only used threats and bribes. How could he ever understand the meaning of gentle? Logan had looked particularly attractive lately. Throughout the entire walk from the Smith Group's front door to Logan's office on the top floor, there were people who stopped and stared and fell a little bit in love with him. The whispers followed Logan as he moved through the company's hallways. "Mr. Alexander is so handsome. Even those celebrities can't compare. The key is that he is so rich. What a winner in life. My God. Have you guys heard? Mr. Alexander and Violet Kingston. Do you think Violet is normal? When she first arrived, she deliberately pretended to be ugly. Then she made a stunning reappearance. That isn't it. If you are actually ugly, you won't be able to make a stunning reappearance. She is just really beautiful." "That's true, but she's much prettier than she had been. She must be something special. She even moved into Mr. Alexander's place. Sounds like the rumors running around LA are true. This woman has been racing through men and breaking up couples since she was incredibly young." "That's right. This latest one she snatched was her cousin's man. That's Elizabeth Kingston. She is also Violet's younger cousin. You wouldn't know that. She is so ruthless." Whenever Corey's office assistant, Priya, heard these rumors, she would argue with the gossipers. Violet has temporarily gone to take care of Mr. Alexander's estate. Please cease your gossiping. If Corey hears you, you'll be written up. If she had been able to, Priya would have gone to Mr. Alexander herself. She even dared to secretly, if unsuccessfully, flirt with him. In Priya's opinion, Violet was her idol. Not only did she sleep with Mr. Alexander, but she could also make him hide his affection for her. Who did they think they were fooling? Everyone knew they had been sneaking around, and many of Violet's co-workers tormented her, calling her a gold digger. But Violet didn't do anything to deserve that. Priya just wished it had been her instead of Violet. When Violet had started working at the Smith Group, and Priya saw how pretty she was more than a little resentful. I'm no better than the rest of the people in this office," Priya mumbled to herself under her breath. When Corey was not around, she would open her phone and scroll through tabloid news. Suddenly, she saw a photo of Garrett and Elizabeth. Elizabeth was always hanging around Mr. Alexander's office, making up excuses to visit him. Why was she now so intimate with the CEO of Lorry Group? Priya wondered if she should let Corey take a look at this picture and have him tell Mr. Alexander. She didn't know what to do about this development. After all, everyone in the office knew there was no love lost between Mr. Alexander and his brother. After thinking for a long time, Priya decided that she did not dare do anything. She only dared gossip with Drake during lunch. What Priya did not know was that Logan had already seen the photo early this morning. He had never liked Garrett. Naturally, he quietly agreed that Garrett had hired someone to take that photo. It was nothing more than a ploy to make Logan angry. They are quite a good match. I should have set them up a long time ago. Logan looked at Corey with a grin. Just stay out of it, Corey replied. Garrett has been trying to get close to Elizabeth for a while. Rumor has it he even pitched a project to Elizabeth on behalf of the Lorry Group. Of course, we also invested in it, so he doesn't think Elizabeth will reject the offer. Is that so? Let's wait and see how it goes. Pay close attention to all the Kingstons. Be vigilant. Corey carried out Logan's orders seriously, as always. He immediately reported back the business dealings between the Kingstons and the Gardners. The entire morning passed very quickly. They were so busy. Logan needed caffeine. He missed the coffee Violet had made. He thought it would be wise not to keep her at home anymore. In a few days, he would let her come back to the office to work. She would be walking around in front of him, and it would be more exciting for him if she went to the office with him. When Violet was not around, he felt that something was missing. As for Garrett, he had met up with Elizabeth the previous night. At that time, he had some wine. The driver had brought him home and showed him the photo, but Garrett had not paid much attention to it at the time. After waking up, he turned on his phone and looked at the photo of him and Elizabeth. He snorted and laughed. The photo looked so intimate. He hadn't asked anyone to take the photo. Initially, he only wanted to get in touch with Elizabeth. He had not thought of what the next steps might be. However, Elizabeth was obviously eager to get back at Violet. She also wanted to provoke Logan. It seemed Elizabeth might want the same things he did. Garrett pondered for a while. If they had to pay the same price, the big question was who stood to gain more in the end. One thing was for sure, Elizabeth was good bait, and it would be good to catch her first. The photo isn't bad, Garrett said. Garrett had gone to see Elizabeth on set the next afternoon. Garrett's visit was understandable, considering how much money Lori Group was investing. "What's not bad?" Elizabeth asked Garrett. "The photos. The lighting is great, the vibe is comfortable, and most important of all, you look gorgeous." Garrett shrugged his shoulders. He put his hands in his pockets and concentrated on looking at Elizabeth, who had put on makeup. His eyes were full of admiration. Elizabeth thought that no woman could resist such a gaze. She tried her best poker face and nodded coldly. "But this whole thing is not right. I think we should figure out how this happened. Otherwise, we really shouldn't dare go out in the future." "There's no need for that. Celebrities are people who need to socialize, like everyone else. Besides, we're both single people, so what's the problem?" Garrett whispered into Elizabeth's ear, teasing her. Her ears turned red. She felt like the temperature in the dressing room had increased. Elizabeth's assistant came in and saw Garrett. "So, Mr. Gardner is here to see you today. Aren't you both afraid of what others will say behind your backs?" Episode 136. Garrett's Set Visit. Garrett was unconcerned by Elizabeth's assistant's remarks. He'd be thrilled if someone told Logan he had visited Elizabeth on her set. "What should I be afraid of?" Garrett asked. "There are many people who admire Elizabeth, and I am one of them." "Does your little friend know that you talk this sweet?" Elizabeth asked, too casually. "Little friend?" Garrett thought for a moment. Elizabeth must be talking about Anna. "Don't be ridiculous. That is Logan's younger sister, Anna. Why would she be interested in a player like me?" "Who says you're a player?" Elizabeth frowned. "Isn't that what everyone says about me? Even when I'm single, women look at me like I have a reputation." Garrett's eyes were filled with longing. He gazed fiercely into Elizabeth's eyes, as if he were looking straight through her heart. Logan had never looked at Elizabeth like this. For a moment, she was overwhelmed with emotion. She wished she could just surrender to Garrett's desire. Who could resist such an honest pursuer? And he was the CEO of Lori Group, a figure who was second only to Logan in LA. Elizabeth had heard that Garrett's grandmother was modest, gentle, and kind. She was not as mean as Agnes or Miranda. If Elizabeth and Garrett could make this work, Elizabeth's life would be so much easier. She needed to stop. Why was she even thinking about what this could mean? She was a Kingston. The Kingston family needed to have Logan. And if she couldn't stay with Logan, she was afraid that the truth of the past would be exposed. This would not only finish Elizabeth, but the entire Kingston family. Therefore, she just couldn't accept Garrett's advances. But Elizabeth is still technically Logan's girlfriend. Elizabeth's assistant's words were suggestive. Men liked to snatch things from others. She wanted Garrett to get Elizabeth. She thought he could do more for Elizabeth, but she didn't dare to say that directly. "I never admitted to anything. I never claimed we were seeing each other." Garrett smiled. There was a deep dimple on the left side of his face. This was probably where he looked like Logan the most. However, Garrett's dimple gave him a more devilish look. His smile made her heart beat wildly. "You may not have said that, but that's what it looks like," her assistant argued. "It still seems like she's with Logan. He has never been in public with anyone except for Elizabeth." "Not even Violet." Garrett laughed again. Your assistant likes to lie to herself to spare your feelings, Elizabeth. Do you think Violet's merely an employee? Elizabeth blushed, but she knew this was true. She was also lying to herself. Well, isn't that true? The assistant said confidently. She doesn't come close to being compared with Elizabeth. Besides, Logan hasn't admitted to a relationship with Violet. Nor has Violet admitted to a relationship with him. Garrett laughed in a low voice. Isn't that enough? The assistant asked. I know how to get the truth out. Garrett sneered at the assistant. Don't you think that men keep some women a secret? It's a way to protect them. The fact is that Violet is living with Logan. Don't you think that Logan is at least interested in her? Garrett pulled up a photo on his phone. This time, it was not of him and Elizabeth, but of Violet. He turned the phone to face Elizabeth and handed it to her. At first, Elizabeth was confused about why she should care about a picture of Violet. But when she looked closely at the screen, she saw that Violet's neck was covered with hickeys. Elizabeth felt sick. If not for the fact that Garrett was there, she would have started to smash things. Calm down, she told herself. This was a film set. She still had work to do today. She didn't want Logan to know that she saw the photo. Otherwise, nothing would be considered a secret anymore. Violet is shameless. Elizabeth handed the phone back to Garrett with a haughty sniff. She must have seduced Logan. A man so easily seduced must not be much of a man. Garrett looked at Elizabeth with sincerity, which made the assistant feel a little moved. What Mr. Gardner says is true, but some people just don't listen to reason. The assistant often tried to persuade Elizabeth to be happy. She was sought after by a lot of people in the business, many of them rich and powerful. But in Elizabeth's heart, Logan was the only one for her. Even though Garrett was so attentive to her, she still wanted Logan. But that's how people were, wanting what they can't have. But Miranda had made it clear over the years that she wanted Elizabeth with Logan, so she could run the Smith Group. She wanted the Kingstons to climb to the top. However, Logan did not know about all of this, so it was Miranda's obsession alone. Elizabeth felt the rise and fall of the entire Kingston family were on her shoulders. Elizabeth rolled her eyes at her assistant. Someone came to call Elizabeth to the set. The director was ready for her to start work. Today was an important scene between the male and the female leads, and she would probably be busy until 7 or 8 that evening. Garrett decided to wait for Elizabeth so they could get dinner together. The male lead was also a rising star. He was about the same age as Elizabeth. Many of his family members were rich and powerful people in the business, but ever since Elizabeth was in the public eye, she had become someone with an important family too. Naturally, everyone wanted her. Although the two of them did not have any acting skills, they were beautiful and belonged in front of a camera. Elizabeth had a sense of pride in front of the camera. Thankfully, this worked for the character she was playing. At 7 o'clock, they called it a day. The director called the two leads over to talk for a while. Then the director remembered that the CEO from Lorry Group was still waiting on set. He quickly asked Elizabeth to go and greet him. After all, he was one of the investors. The director told me to tell you that he still has things to do, so he won't be joining the fun tonight. He does have a good eye for things. By this, Garrett of course meant Elizabeth. Be careful what you say. Elizabeth looked at him reproachfully and laughed. Oh, am I not complimenting him? Garrett didn't mind. Let me ask you something. The internet is filled with pictures of us. Why aren't you angry? Elizabeth was a little nervous, but she had to ask. She did not know what Garrett's intentions were, so she tried to test him. Episode 137. Offers They Can't Refuse. Elizabeth remained casual, but she wanted to know why Garrett wasn't concerned they'd been photographed together. She needed to know his intentions. What's there to be angry about? Haven't you heard that any publicity is good publicity? Garrett really didn't care about the photos. It wasn't like he had a girlfriend. Besides, if the photos could make Anna stay away from him, they would be useful. Aren't you afraid that your girlfriend will get angry? Elizabeth asked. Garrett was a little annoyed. Anna is not my girlfriend. Garrett led Elizabeth outside. The driver quickly came up to them and opened the car door to let them into the back seat. The assistant wanted to follow them, but Garrett shot her a cold glance. Then I'll leave Miss Kingston with you, Mr. Gardner. Elizabeth looked at Garrett and he smiled. They have been working hard all day, Garrett. Garrett beckoned his driver and her assistant over. The driver took out a credit card from the glove box and handed it to Garrett. Garrett handed the card to Elizabeth's assistant. Here, use my card. Take Elizabeth's staff with you and have fun. You can use it however you want. It was a luxurious black and gold card. Elizabeth proudly raised her slender neck and nodded at the assistant, who wanted to take it but did not dare to. Elizabeth motioned that it was all right to take it. The assistant took the card and happily expressed that she would invite Philly to go out with her tonight. They'd go to the hottest nightclub in Los Angeles. It was a Lorry Group property, and there were all kinds of entertainment. It was a playground for the rich and famous. Elizabeth had never been there before, but Philly had been invited a few times. Elizabeth felt proud Philly would be attending because of a man's interest in her. Maybe next time Elizabeth would be the one giving Philly tips on men. The assistant thanked Garrett profusely. Logan did not hand out benefits like this. He only knew how to manage work for Elizabeth. He had never paid attention to her staff. Maybe Mr. Gardner was not so bad. The assistant's opinion of Garrett had already surpassed her opinion of Logan, and he seemed to care about Elizabeth. All right, well, hopefully we both have a wonderful night. What are you talking about? Elizabeth was upset. Her assistant's words were too suggestive. I just meant that I want you to have fun tonight. You have worked hard today. You should enjoy yourself. Don't you agree, Mr. Gardner? The assistant smiled playfully at Garrett. Of course, you are right. Garrett waved at her and winked playfully. He patted Elizabeth's hand to pacify her and told the driver to go. Take us to the pavilion. Yes, sir, his driver replied. Only now did Elizabeth realize that she was actually going on a date with the CEO of Lorry Group. Is this a date? She didn't know if she was asking herself or Garrett. It's whatever you want it to be. Garrett's smile was as bright as the lights outside the window. Elizabeth was stunned for a moment by that smile, and butterflies exploded in her stomach. Maybe the brothers were more alike than she had thought. However, being with Garrett was completely different from being with Logan. Garrett was attentive and charming, while Logan was resistant and cold. So why couldn't Elizabeth stop thinking about Logan? The Kingston family had been very busy during this period of time. Since Violet had returned to Los Angeles, it had completely broken their peace. Miranda had finally returned to her family home, but she didn't return easily. This time, something had happened. If she did not come back, there would be trouble for the Rutherford family. Annoyed, she was surrounded by people asking questions the moment she arrived. Her sister-in-law, Joyce, and her older brother, Ian, had been fighting. Joyce couldn't hold her sharp tongue, and Ian had responded by shouting and berating his wife in front of everyone. Joyce had grown so furious that she had smashed a vase against his head, and now Ian needed to go to the hospital. Returning home was never easy for Miranda. Her father couldn't stop drinking and gambling, and Joyce had told her that the old man kept a 20-year-old mistress and had even bought her a house. Ian was in charge of their small company, and he didn't make much money. He always wanted Miranda to help him pay for things. Ian just made one bad decision after another. He had formed a partnership with a group of business owners, but it went nowhere. He spent money like water, and, like Charles, was basically useless. So, as usual, Miranda had been called to clean up another of her family's messes. In order to prevent things from getting out of control, Miranda went to the hospital to keep watch. Those who were not Rutherfords could not visit Ian. Miranda sent Chloe to her mother's house to ask for an explanation from her sister-in-law. Joyce had informed Chloe that she had thrown the vase because her Uncle Ian had been caught with a prostitute. So Miranda had gone to pay off someone to keep the story from being exposed. Now that Miranda was back, Joyce was furious and cursed the Rutherford family for being useless. Joyce had discovered Ian with the prostitute and dragged him home. She was angry, and as she had grown angrier at her cheating husband, she'd thrown the vase. Joyce wanted to teach him a lesson. Who knew what this dog of a man would do next? When she lost control, she threw the vase. She didn't understand why Miranda was so surprised. So, does this mean if Charles is caught fooling around, you just ignore it? Do you just turn the other cheek and remain grateful to be part of the Kingston family? Not only was Miranda's sister-in-law not afraid of Miranda, but she also mocked her. Miranda was livid. She felt that her father and brother were embarrassments, but they were still family after all. No matter what, she still had to help them. She asked what her sister-in-law wanted to do. When Joyce said that she wanted a divorce, Miranda naturally wasn't happy. Chloe gave her two cousins, Paige and Nora, a look and told them to change their mothers' minds. She told them that it was an important time for the Kingston family, and they couldn't have their Rutherford relatives raising any more trouble. How does that help my family? Why should I care what the Kingston family needs? Joyce screeched. She did not intend to work with them. Miranda had no choice but to make Joyce an offer she couldn't refuse. Forget about divorce and keep this whole mess quiet, and I'll secure your daughter's futures. I'll find both my nieces wealthy husbands and make sure they never have to worry about money again. Episode 138. Something else is going on. As soon as Miranda said wealthy husbands, she had her sister-in-law Joyce's attention. The one thing the two women could agree upon was their shared love of money and status. Miranda elaborated. While the husbands I find for my nieces won't be an Alexander or a Gardner, they will still be wealthy members of other prestigious families. Agree not to divorce Ian, and Paige and Nora will never have to worry about money for the rest of their lives. Joyce was tempted, but not sure if she could trust Miranda. How can I be sure that you will keep your promise? I swear, or else may I be stricken sick and poor, Miranda said as sincerely as she was able to, placing her hand over her heart for emphasis. Since Miranda promised so sincerely, her sister-in-law chose to believe her. Ensuring her daughter's futures, as well as her own, was too tempting of an offer to pass up. With the way the Rutherfords spent money, who knew how long their wealth would last? As it stood, the Kingston family still had power and influence. If Miranda really wanted to help her two nieces find good husbands, it should be as easy as snapping her fingers. Seeing that her sister-in-law had calmed down, Miranda heaved a sigh of relief. But Joyce still had one other request. It turned out that the prostitute Ian had been caught with wasn't his first indiscretion. He had been cheating on Joyce for years. One of his former paramours was harassing Ian, and he couldn't get rid of her. The woman didn't want money. She wanted Ian to leave Joyce so she could become the next Miss Rutherford. She just won't give up, Joyce complained. If you can get this woman out of our lives and the girls' rich husbands, you have a deal. Miranda rubbed her forehead. This whole thing was giving her a headache. Now that she had heard all the details, Miranda understood why Joyce had smashed her brother's head open. Miranda was kind of jealous. Joyce had beat her to it. She could kill Ian for making such a mess for her to clean up. Fortunately, Miranda wasn't a Rutherford anymore, but a Kingston. She had the resources to deal with this woman. If this woman didn't want money, she'd resort to threats. Miranda hated these delusional women who thought they could steal someone's man and solve all their problems. This woman was just another Violet, trying to steal someone's Logan. Chloe had been listening to her mother's deal-making with Aunt Joyce. After a while, Chloe pulled Miranda aside and said that she had a way to protect the Kingston family and get rid of Ian's troubles at the same time. This was why Chloe was Miranda's favorite daughter. She was always thinking about the Kingston family, unlike Elizabeth, who was useless and couldn't even keep a man. It would be great if Elizabeth was more like you, Miranda sighed. I may be capable, but I'm not as pretty as Elizabeth. You have to promise to not let it happen to me what happened to Aunt Joyce. I won't be able to keep Lionel on my own. You have to help me keep Lionel's heart so he never leaves me. With Violet in Los Angeles, you must keep a close eye on Lionel. Don't let that woman near him again, Miranda warned. I know, but treating the symptoms doesn't cure the disease. We may have to kill someone to remove the root of the problem. Chloe leaned in and whispered her thoughts into her mother's ear, while Miranda listened and nodded in agreement. Violet was unaware of Miranda and Chloe's latest scheming. She awoke blissfully ignorant after her night in Logan's bed. Violet had slept until 9 o'clock before taking a quick shower and going downstairs. She saw Amy helping Lee with some gardening in the courtyard. The weather was warm and sunny. The expansive front lawn was dark green and the flowers were in full bloom. Violet took a deep breath. She stood in front of the open French doors and watched her daughter. She did not intend to disturb Amy. Zoe made her an omelet, and Violet sat at the kitchen table and casually ate. Then she grabbed a bottle of water and headed to the small study downstairs. Violet was struck by the fact of how normal this all felt. She had settled into Logan's home and forgotten her initial awkwardness. Violet flushed when she thought about last night. Turns out it was possible to get along with Logan when they were alone. The small downstairs study was used by guests, or Logan when he wanted to multitask. Although it was small compared to the rest of the house, the space was actually still quite large and included a stand-up desk treadmill. Logan was an exercise fanatic and wouldn't let his busy schedule stand in the way of getting in a workout. If he had too much work to do, he just used his desk treadmill while he worked. Violet's view of multitasking was combining a good book and a cup of tea. Few had the same perseverance and discipline as Logan. No wonder Smith Group enjoyed such success under Logan's leadership. Just as she was about to turn on the computer to check her email, she noticed a contract on the desk. It seemed to be the one Logan had read last night. Would it be needed today? It was almost noon and no one had come back to get it. Violet did not want Logan to be unable to find it if he needed it, so she carefully put the contract in a conspicuous place and prepared for Logan to arrange someone to come and get it this afternoon. Violet joined Amy for lunch and then coaxed her to take an afternoon nap, all the while worrying about the contract. She came down to ask Lee and Zoe, but still, no one had come to get it. To be safe, she decided to call Logan and ask. At first, Logan didn't pick up, but then she heard a voice that wasn't Logan's. It was an older man's. Violet thought she had heard it somewhere before, and then the voice introduced himself. It was Alex. Had Logan returned to the old residence? Violet wondered. Violet was a little nervous when Alex asked what was the matter, but she composed herself to ask about the contract. If it is needed this afternoon, I can send it over to the office now, Violet offered. You are not at the office? Alex asked suspiciously. Well, Violet did not know if Agnes knew about her living with Logan, so she thought it best not to mention it to him. Alex told her that since she was not in the office, she should not run errands for work. He would have another member of Logan's staff handle the contract. Right now, you should not be out running around as you please, Alex instructed her. This confused Violet, but she quickly agreed and asked where Logan was. Alex said that Logan was fine and was talking to him. If there was nothing else, she could hang up the phone. Violet let out a long breath. She felt strange still, so she called Corey. Corey told Violet that the internet was filled with rumors about her and Logan. It was said that she and Logan had been fooling around since they were young. They had angered Violet's grandfather to death, and now they wanted to come back and fight for the inheritance. The gossips were saying they had fabricated documents, colluded with Violet's grandfather's lawyer, bribed his lawyer to distort the truth, and conspired with him to slander the Kingston family. This isn't the same old slander that's been thrown around for years, Violet. The thing that's different this time is that the press has dragged Logan's name into it. As Corey explained, Violet felt her stomach sink. If this was purely the Kingston family's handiwork, they wouldn't have the guts to talk about Logan. Something else is going on. Episode 139, Logan's and Agnes's Argument. Violet was silent on her end of the phone, Corey's description of the rumors about her and Logan ringing in her ears. What was going on? Who was behind these latest rumors about her and Logan, if not the Kingstons? Corey broke the silence. Logan must have returned to the old residence because of the gossip. Sounds like he went to talk to Agnes and Alex. Violet's heart plummeted. This wasn't good. Agnes would not be supportive of Logan and Violet's relationship. If Logan chose to end things with her over this, Violet would be isolated and helpless. After all, Logan had already gotten what he wanted. Why would he subject himself to all this gossip and his grandmother's displeasure now? Corey felt bad for Violet and tried to comfort her. You don't have to worry about this, Violet. Logan is always dealing with conflicts. The press will eventually get bored and move on to a new story. This will all blow over. Logan will keep his promises to you. Nothing will change. But I don't want to upset Agnes. Violet responded quietly. Don't worry. They'll argue about you, but things will be fine in a few days. Try to forget about it. Just pretend that you don't know, Corey suggested. Corey's words were replaying in her head all night. Logan did not come home that evening, but Violet did not dare to call his phone again. The last thing she needed to do was to cause more problems for him. She quietly gave the children their baths after school and ate dinner with them. Although she was anxious, she didn't want to show it in front of the children. Dr. Murphy, Logan's personal doctor, made another house call that night to see how Adam and Amy were recovering. Amy's wrist did not hurt anymore, so she asked the doctor if she could go back to school. After receiving Dr. Murphy's approval, Amy was extremely happy. She hugged Adam and they all jumped around. Amy didn't like to be separated from Adam too often. She needed to protect her twin. You have lovely children. They both want to protect each other. You're a lucky mom. Dr. Murphy smiled kindly at Violet. Yes, I think so too. Violet returned his smile. Indeed, if it was not for them, she might not have been able to bear the past 4 years. And Mr. Alexander? She was still worried. Violet thought that the doctor might have some insight about Logan. Have some patience. Not all of Mr. Alexander's problems have to do with you. Don't worry. Dr. Murphy seemed to know something she didn't. He smiled and comforted Violet. Regardless of whether it was related to her or not, Violet could not help but worry. The worst evidence out there was the picture of Violet's neck. Violet cringed in embarrassment thinking about the press coverage. The public was in an uproar over the photo, raking Violet over the coals for stealing her cousin's man, then flaunting it to everyone. The public wondered how Logan Alexander, the CEO of Smith Group, could let such photos be leaked. He had never allowed such tawdry displays of intimacy with Elizabeth. The gossip wondered how a highly respected person like Logan could become a tool for Violet's revenge. Violet was mortified by all the attention, but she was mostly worried about what Logan and his family would say. Agnes could not be happy. Agnes was indeed unhappy. She glared at her grandson coldly. What exactly do you want out of this? Agnes's expression was serious as she coldly questioned her grandson. Did you forget what you said to me? Where has your integrity gone, Logan? You said you wouldn't ask about my private life. You gave control of the Smith Group to me, and now the board doesn't know if they can trust me because of my private business. They grilled me for 3 hours with questions, then agreed to work with the Lorry Group on some business without getting my approval. It seems like you are the one who doesn't keep her promises, grandmother. Logan was losing his patience with her. Now you're arguing with me for the sake of some woman? Alex, how do we usually deal with this kind of situation? Agnes had been a strong woman for more than half of her life, and she wouldn't be intimidated by her own grandson. She had plenty of ways to make her stubborn grandson cooperate. It should be easy to deal with Violet and the twins and restore the Alexander family's good name. Alex replied, Just release some money to me and I'll have them packed and overseas in no time. Alex knew that Agnes was just trying to scare Logan. He didn't believe that Agnes would ask him to really do that to Violet and the children. She knew that Logan liked the 2 children very much. Otherwise, he wouldn't have found a way to get the samples for the DNA test. It was no wonder that Agnes had always been on guard against Violet. She had seen Violet and Logan's connection from the beginning. "Did you hear that, Logan? We have ways of dealing with these shameful women who try to seduce and use you," Agnes warned. "She didn't seduce me." Logan didn't elaborate on how Violet had come to be in a relationship with him. How it started didn't matter. Violet was the woman he wanted. He definitely would not let his grandmother extinguish his happiness easily. "Oh, are you going to court her and fall in love?" Agnes rolled her eyes at her grandson. "Her past relationships are much more complicated than yours. No one even knows who the father of her children is. Is this the kind of woman you like, Logan? I thought you had better taste." Alex watched them argue and felt that Agnes had forgotten one thing. Whenever a child got a new toy, it was all that he wanted. He would be obsessed with it. Then he would grow bored with it and move on. It was not that Alex hadn't tried to convince Agnes of this before, but Agnes seemed to think Violet was different. When she heard the news, Agnes had actually immediately called Logan and asked him to fire Violet to restore the peace and quiet of Smith Group. "And about these rumors," Agnes continued, "I believe that you can handle it, but why did you let the press get their hands on this story? Is the reputation of Smith Group that easy to ruin? Grandma, don't forget that they spend 365 days a year speculating about my relationships. There is no day that they don't write a story like this. Why are you so nervous when it comes to Violet?" Logan grabbed his laptop and moved to the sofa to read his messages from Corey. Logan just didn't get it. His grandmother had been very open-minded in the past. Why was she so agitated now? Why did she think Violet was different from other women? Episode 140. Violet's Different. As Agnes watched her grandson type furiously on his laptop, she wondered what Logan was thinking. Agnes's woman's intuition was telling her that Violet was different from other women. Even a casual observer, frankly, could see this. Violet and her children were living with Logan. She was attending functions with him and entertaining her friends in Logan's home. Not to mention those photos. Did Logan not realize how his relationship with Violet appeared? Did her grandson not realize Violet was the first woman he had ever done these things for? "Could it be that one of the Kingstons is causing trouble?" Alex suggested, furrowing his brow. "After all, those photos were taken at the Kingston family dinner." "They wish they could keep Violet a secret. On top of that, Elizabeth has been pestering Logan for 4 years, but to no avail. At this point, we might as well give in to the Kingstons and let Logan get engaged to Elizabeth." Agnes said this out of anger. She did not like Elizabeth at all. Of course, she did not like Violet either, especially since she already had children. She certainly did not understand what Violet meant to her grandson. "Could it be that you want to use Violet to deal with the other monsters in her family?" Agnes asked. Logan looked up from his laptop. His grandmother had just given him the perfect excuse he'd been looking for. "Yes, grandmother, you're right. I'm trying to get the Kingstons off my back. I really can't refuse Elizabeth. You should know that I don't want to hurt her." "You say that you don't want to hurt her, but let's make one thing clear. You are hurting Elizabeth by doing this." Agnes glared at her grandson, but she'd calmed down a bit with Logan's words. If he was doing all this to rid himself of his obligation to Elizabeth, maybe this situation with Violet wasn't as bad as it seemed. Agnes sat down, feeling more relaxed, and then thought of those two children. The rumor has spread like wildfire that you are the children's father. We need to find an opportunity to refute this story, Agnes said. Alex thought of the children's DNA samples that were sent to the doctor a few days ago. The results would be in soon. He was quite nervous and did not know if he should say anything at this time. Maybe they would not need to refute anything. I wish those two children were mine, but they aren't. Let them gossip about it. What had Haley said about this? The children proved Logan was virile or something like that? Of course, Logan didn't share that reasoning with his grandmother. Don't be like your father, Agnes announced. Logan groaned internally. Not this again. Agnes was bringing up his dad. His father had been successful in business, but he'd been secretly mocked by everyone in Los Angeles for his private life. Why? Because he could not control his own wife. When he was young, Logan's parentage was under suspicion. Agnes finally ordered a paternity test to be performed, which was the only reason everyone stopped speculating. His wife was cheating on him, and yet he still clung to her. That woman was Logan's mother, of course, a woman who didn't love her husband. He would not fall into the same situation as his father. He was the only man in Violet's life. He had it in writing. As for him, as long as Violet was devoted to him, he would be to her as well. But if she did something to betray him, he would definitely let her know how painful it was to live. I won't be like him, Grandma. Since you said you trusted me, then let me handle it myself. Logan held her wrinkled hand in his palm. It was a rare softness in front of his grandmother. Then listen to me. Prepare for a blind date. I will arrange it in a few days. When the time comes, you can just find some time to meet her. Agnes's tone was firm and absolute. But Logan was very busy with work. He did not have time to go on blind dates. Besides, there was Violet at home, so he didn't have any interest in other women. Violet satisfied him. At present, it seemed that only Violet could satisfy him. You will listen to me. Agnes was growing angry again. Logan wanted to refuse, but Alex quickly mediated. He said he would investigate the woman and see if they might be a match first. If Alex did not like her, Agnes would not force Logan to meet the woman. Logan looked at his grandmother's face again. It was indeed strained. He saw Alex giving him a look, so he could only nod and agree. He was just placating the old lady. He was so busy, and it was rare that he had time to come back and visit his grandmother. He would just pacify her. Besides, if he went on this date, it would be hard to think of an excuse to reject any advances. If he just went through the motions, his grandmother would be happy, and he could just check the whole thing off, like another task on his to-do list. When Logan agreed, Agnes was indeed very happy, and insisted on him staying for dinner. She asked him to stay the night as well, since they had not seen each other for a long time. Logan did not want to return home yet, and decided to work from the old house tomorrow. Logan was full of energy. Recently, the business had been smooth and there was no need to work overtime. Normally, when he got home, he would eat with Violet and the children and then work in his study for a while. When his work was done, he would spend the whole night with Violet. The next day, Violet would still be asleep in his bed when Logan left her to work out and get ready for work. The result of years of the constant exercise was that his physique was different from others. He didn't need much sleep. so he'd been keeping Violet up for most of the night as well. It was fine to spend the night at his grandmother's house. He would just think of it as giving Violet a night off to catch up on her sleep. However, Logan selfishly did not call or text Violet about his plan. He thought it would be good to let her worry about his whereabouts. He also hoped that Violet would wake up in his bed. As long as he did not tell her that he would not return, she would not dare to sleep in her own room. Logan enjoyed having Violet's gentle scent on his sheets. Ever since Violet had moved in with him, Logan had been sleeping great for the few hours he slept. Violet was being quite cooperative at the moment. A few days ago, when she was wronged by the Kingstons, she didn't cry as other women would. She didn't even beg him to deal with the Kingstons for her. She was quite self-reliant. Still thinking about Violet, Logan grabbed his cell and sent a message to Corey, asking him to do a few things. The next morning, after accompanying Henry to take Adam and Amy to school, Violet had planned to go on a walk. But, remembering what Corey had told her, she remained at home instead. Besides, she didn't know when Logan would come back. She really wanted to ask what happened yesterday and whether it had anything to do with her. Was Logan angry? Was his grandmother unhappy? Violet was nervous. She had just grown used to living in Logan's home. What if he asked her to move out?